Grow My Cleaning Company teaches owners of cleaning companies just like you how to grow your company, make more money, and finally take charge of your financial future and your life. This podcast is about automating and creating systems that give you time and money freedom so you can grow like crazy without losing control. Since this is totally free, if you're getting tons of value, want to support us and make sure that you get more of the good stuff, subscribe, rate, and review to this podcast today. Now, on to the show. Welcome to the Grow My Cleaning Company podcast. Mike Campion here with the lovely, the amazing Suzanne Bandick. She is one of the coaches here on staff. And if you remember, a couple podcasts ago, we had a great podcast. I'm going to see if I can get Lindsay to link to it because it was really good. And if you listen to that one first, this one will be even more powerful. And Suzanne came up with the genius idea of talking about probably the number one thing that holds people back from getting results. I think a lot of us think it's, I don't know what to do, which is kind of really what we're talking about. I don't have the money. I don't have the education. I don't know anyone. I'm not a business owner. Those are all really manifestations of the one thing we're going to talk about today, which is fear. I am afraid. I don't know what to do. Therefore, I'm afraid I'm going to do the wrong thing and something bad's going to happen. I don't have enough money. Therefore, I'm afraid if I spend any money on my business, all will be lost. Everything we just mentioned of all the things that holds people back comes back down to fear. Am I overstating, or have you any thoughts on any of that so far, Suzanne?
Mike, I would say you're absolutely bang on, right?
This is long by the way. It's a lot of Mike, you're right. But go ahead, Suzanne. I agree. You're right. Continue. Sorry, I couldn't help it.
We have thoughts that are running amok in our head, and the thoughts can often go to fear of loss and lack versus versus thoughts of abundance and wealth. And what happens is we create stories, and then the stories become our realities, and we say, see, I told you so. So if we're going to create stories in our mind, let's create stories that serve us.
All right. So I'm going to be, this is always fun because I'm typically the one on the coaching side of this. I never get to be the one on the other side. So I'm going to bust your chops, Suzanne. You're not going to get away with it that easy. So I don't want to say fight back, but let me voice what I think a lot of the listeners might be hearing. And by the way, I love having amazing coaches. I do this with Tracy. I do this with Suzanne, where I can impromptu with no planning, no scripting, no here's what's going to happen, Suzanne, just come at her hot with all of the fears and arguments and, more importantly, stories that a lot of you guys are thinking, and not worry that she's going to go, I don't know, I'm stuck. It's whatever. So it's
bring it on, Mike. Bring it on.
This is a woman who has no fear. She's like, we're live. Well, I mean, obviously you're hearing a recording, but this is live, and I promise there shall be no edits. Whatever we ask and what she says. Okay, so Suzanne, you don't understand. My business is different. My circumstance is different. I really don't have any money. It's not that I'm afraid, it's I don't have any money. It's the truth in the world. My wife is completely unsupportive. That's not a fear, that's just the truth. And I don't know what to do. Again, it's not that I'm afraid. If I just knew what to do, and I'm hitting you with all three that we kind of hear, and typically, obviously, Suzanne's going to hear these one at a time, but I'm trying to get for all the listeners that are like, you didn't hit my fear. I'm trying to get 80% of you. So my spouse doesn't believe in me. I don't have any money, and I don't know what to do. And people in my area don't want to work, and my clients won't pay. There's people, I'm hitting you with that. I'm going to get the kitchen. I'm throwing everything at you, girlfriend. The people in my area are poor, and they won't pay more. There's someone with a mop and a bucket, and she's working for $6 an hour, and she's not even legal. And these are not fears, Suzanne. This is the truth. All right, come at me, girl.
All righty, let's take a breath on that one, Mike.
Suzanne's the best. That is for some psychopath that would say that. Your response is perfect. Let's just take a beat, dude. You're a little hopped up. Let's get you off the cliff before we start dealing with what you're talking about.
Okay. Whenever we deal with yes, but, that doesn't work for me. It's not my situation. It's a mind game. And once again, It revolves around the loss. I'm not going to have enough, the lack mentality. And it's a game when we stay in that world, we're playing to lose. So why not play to win?
Or at best, we're playing not to lose, but certainly not to win. We're just like,
but playing not to lose, we end up losing.
Yeah, that's a good point. I made a distinction between playing to lose and playing not to lose. How we look at those may be different, but in the world, they're kind of the same thing. Playing not to lose is really effectively doing the opposite, playing to lose, right? Like, I've only got a little bit of money or time or whatever, and I'm going to hoard onto it. I can't do anything. Almost always ends up in you losing that time or that money anyway, as opposed to, I'm all in, I got to make this work, and whatever it costs, time, money, effort, whatever, I'll pay the price and it'll be worth it. So how do we help folks that are, first, it's tough because you're preaching to me and I'm an easy sale because I'm like, you're absolutely right. But as well as I do, a lot of our clients.
Oh, you didn't sound so easy, Mike.
I was a paper tiger. You've already sold me. I'm like, yes, you're exactly right. I was so faking. But walk us through the people that are like, and again, I almost never pitch on this show. This is the only time I feel like it's super important. If you've been listening to the show long at all, and we've got well over 600 episodes, we might be coming up on 700. We do everything we can tactics wise, like here, do this. And Suzanne does everything she can to coach her heart out, 1 to many in a 20-minute soundbite. People love the podcast, and it makes them feel good. Like, I can do this, I can do that. But it breaks my heart so few of them actually change, because just like what we're talking about, you might hear Suzanne and go, that makes sense. I feel better. I'm going to be that. And then 7.5 minutes later, someone calls, someone quits, and then we're right back into the fear. So I won't even pitch us. I will just pitch action. I'm always going to pitch action. So if you're feeling, yeah, that's me, and I'll kind of listen to this podcast or other podcasts that make me feel good about life, and I start feeling confident, and then life kicks me right in the teeth and I go back. It's because to change who you are, that would be like listening to Dr. whomever on the thing. It might make you feel better, but that's not the same as one-on-one counseling over an extended amount of time. So I would encourage you to take action, find a coach like Suzanne or our team or a different team. If we're not the team for you, that's okay. But to just go, I'm going to kind of solve this by YouTube or by a podcast is nutballs. It takes time, and most of us can get in our mind in 12.5 seconds. That's why we like the podcast and the YouTube. We're like, oh, I got it. I believe this, and she said this, and it makes sense. But our heart hasn't changed an iota, and our beliefs should go right back to it. So there's the quick pitch. If you think we're great, go to growingcleancompany.com. There's all sorts of options and free stuff and cool. If you think we're not great, find someone that you think is great, but don't fool yourself into like, oh, this podcast is going to solve, frankly, anything. If this podcast helps you go, here's my next step that I'm going to do forward, then we can help. All right. I'm stepping off my soapbox, turning it back over to Suzanne. So in the best we can in the time that we've got, how do you help someone that's kind of steeped in that fear? And right now, let's just assume whatever you said, they got it mentally, but they're just going to go right back at it like they do.
Right. Okay. And it's the difference between listening to this podcast and saying, yes, that makes sense, and by tomorrow you've forgotten it, or saying, I'm going to pick...
It. Like tomorrow, God, you're way overestimating me and maybe some of the listeners, sister.
Or picking one thing. Pick one thing out of something that we talk about and say, you know what, that particular thought, I'm going to go to work on changing that particular thought. Now, I'm not going to negate and say that we can just brush away like this a thought that you've had for a long time, because that thought, however you picked it up or decided on it, has become reality for you. Yes, but you don't understand, this is my life. And that's real. That's as real as if I handed you a cell phone, right? So what we need to do is take baby steps and say, what if, and I always say, what if up? Let's pick a little bit better thought. Because we can't go from the world is a terrible mess to, oh, look, it's sunshine and rainbows.
Right.
There's no stepping stone to get there. So you can't say to somebody, do this, If they're like, I can't do this, I don't have the funds or the resources to do this. So, okay, let's take a just gently steps. Do you believe it could be possible if we look at different scenarios? Well, yes, it could be possible. Okay, once we open the doors to something could be possible, let's say, well, what's the plus side, right? So if it's an investment, what if I make this investment and it pays off, right? Okay, so now we're looking at, I make this investment, I'm going to lose money. That's the fear and loss mentality. But if I make this investment and it could lead to success and wealth, is the mentality. Right? So it's stepping up little steps
Or
to make
even
it something you can believe.
I'm going to lose money. And again, it doesn't matter if it's coaching, a vacuum, a stock, a single family residence, whatever the case may be. I'm going to trade this money for a thing, a stock, help from a coach, a book, a car, and I'm going to lose it. Even if we traded that to, I'm going to gain experience, I'm going to gain opportunity. Perfect example. And it's funny, I like using things in the world because when it comes to coaching or books or concepts, people oftentimes don't get it. But when it comes to a book or a backpack vacuum, they'll get it. I spend $800 on a backpack vacuum, and it's sitting in my home. If I just bought it for $800, it's probably worth $200 in America, but it has the potential to earn tens of thousands, and it has the potential to do nothing, and then you sell it for $200 in a couple months. If the reality that you embrace or allow to happen in your life is you sell for $200 in 6 months, you could go, I lost money, I got screwed, I got taken advantage of, I'm angry. Or you could go, I bought an opportunity, I used it like this, and I got this result. And that lesson that you've got, or how you're going to change or make a different decision sometime, might still be worth tens of thousands of dollars, right? So that whole, like, just put it on paper, man, I paid X and I only got Y and I lost money. It's like, maybe. Or, that would be like going, I went to, I put in $250,000 in an education. I came out 4 years later, I didn't have a nickel. Or I traded it for an experience, an opportunity, and a perspective, and that's okay, right? And we could decide, I didn't get anything. This college didn't give me $1 million on my investment, so I don't know. Or we could go, I'm just going to make sure that investment and that lesson I got was more. Okay, so now I'm really going to get to muddling. I gave the obvious, loud, boisterous thing that we hear kind of superficially. Externalize. I don't have money. It's someone else. People don't want to work. All my people are cheap. These are things in the world that we can't control. And I think Suzanne's feedback of really identify what's going to serve you. It's all a story, right? There is no the truth about people being cheap or not cheap, or which people are. There's 1,000 ways to look at it. So why not just adopt a story that's a little more effective? But if I spend a little time with Suzanne, because I know she's good, she'd get to the bottom of it. And if I started being honest with her, I'd go, Suzanne, the truth is, I don't think I can do it. I don't think I'm good enough. I'm not enough. Even if I had the education, had the money, and whatever I thought I needed, if I had that, I still think I'm going to fail. And then it's even worse, because if I fail and it's Suzanne's fault or my spouse's fault, that guy took advantage of me. I can move on. But if it was my fault and I wasn't enough, now what?
That's exactly it. And that's why the thoughts are a continual process. So we need, whether it's the vacuum that you bought that maybe is sitting there, or the program that you bought that maybe you don't feel you're doing well enough on, you need to continually look at, is my thought about this serving me? How do I make my decision work? How do I take the gentle step? Right? A lot of times you're 100% correct, Mike, that I know you love hearing that.
Yeah. I'm recording this just so you know. Out of loop.
It's the basic fear is, what if I don't succeed? What if I can't do it? And we'll create a whole lot of smoke and mirrors around, I don't have the money, I don't have the time, right? But the fear is, what if it's me? And that's where you just have to look at that daily and say, I can do this. get the support and the help that you need from the program or whoever's around you or the books that you read, and work on the mindset every time the negative thought comes up, fear and loss, or whatever. You can't do this. You didn't do this before, right? Our head is full of this stuff. Every time that comes up, you say, wait a minute. This is an old story. What's my new story? I can succeed with help. I've got help now. I can do this one step at a time.
What's this help? And what? Yeah, so two questions. One, what's the help? And two, and I'm trying to just kind of speak for the fears. And I know I sound argumentative, but I want to speak for the fears of our people out there. A, what's this help I've got? And B, let's say I could do it, Suzanne. That sounds like a lot of work if I'm honest with myself, like, oh my gosh, changing this belief. Because again, we don't think we're pessimists or optimists. We all think we're realists, right? So,
exactly.
I'm like, okay, I say I take your fairy tale stuff, and by the way, some of us are pessimists, but we all think we're realists, right? Maybe the optimists think they're optimists, but the pessimists almost always think they're realists. I hate to be judgy, but oftentimes I found that to be the case. So let's say I'm a little squirrely and I'm a little wobbly and I have some fears. I'm like, okay, Suzanne, A, if I was honest, I think that's hard for me to adopt what I believe is the truth and take on your rose-colored glasses truth. Let's say I am able to do that. I am willing to do that. I'm afraid I'm just going to be played for the chump, Suzanne. Like, then I'm just going to get kicked in the teeth by the world, right? Like, I've got this false belief it's going to be okay and whatever. And then I fail again. And now it's even worse. Because just like you said, when I knew crap was going to go wrong and it went wrong, I was like, see, I saw this coming. I didn't get played the fool. But when I fall for your crap, and again, I'm trying to be honest and real, like what people might be thinking. When I fall for, I've fallen before, Suzanne. I've tried and it didn't work. And I felt even stupider. And God forbid, we got this a lot. I mean, my wife was right there, or my mother-in-law was right there, or my whomever was right there, my brother, my friends, to tell me, that didn't try. You idiot, we told you you're going to fail in the first place. And there I was. And I don't think I can do it again, Suzanne. I don't know if I'm ready.
And if someone stayed at that point, I would say don't do whatever you're thinking of doing.
That's a really good point.
Period. You cannot move forward with a mindset that I think I'm going to fail because I guarantee you will be right.
Hopefully you guys are hearing that. Let me repeat what I heard you say, Suzanne. A, to repeat it, and B, so you can make sure I'm getting it and I'm not mishearing. But what I hear Suzanne saying, and I spent some time with her, and she's the most positive, encouraging person I've met. I think this is the first time I've heard Suzanne go, you shouldn't do that, you're going to fail. Like, that is so not who she is. But what I'm hearing her say is, if you were tied to that belief and fear of, I've done it before, it bit me in the ass, or I felt that it bit me in the ass, whatever that looks like for me, and I'm so afraid of getting bit in the ass again, I'm not willing to pay that price at all. I hear Suzanne, I don't want to put words in your mouth. I hear you going, if you're not willing to change that belief, then don't. You're going to have to pick, you're going to have to change your goal or your belief. You can't have both. Am I overstating, or is that where you're coming from?
That's exactly it, Mike.
Let me share a semi-personal story that hopefully will help make it clearer. So I'm 47 now, and I've been married to my amazing bride for 11 years, and it's awesome. She's the best, and I'm so blessed. And don't tell her, but she's way too good for me, and I know it. And hopefully she doesn't know it yet, but she'll figure it out soon. So really, one of the best gifts of my life is my amazing bride. That said, I was married when I was 21, and at I think 29, 30, my wife left. And it was by far the most painful thing in the world. And I actually did. You see me and see my wife, she jokes, but it's the truth. She chased me for 4 years. And you look at her, you're like, why would you chase him? He should be chasing you, which is the truth for sure. But she chased me because I was so terrified of going through a divorce again, which I was just like, I can't, it's impossible. I wasn't willing to get married because that's the only way to guarantee that you never get divorced. If you're not married, is a guarantee, right? Other than that, the chances, are never going to be zero. And it took me years to get through. And I could have stuck with that. Only way to guarantee not getting hurt like that again is to not get married. I would have cost myself and my wife and my son, and couldn't even imagine the cost of my life would have been uncalculable. So from an emotional state, we got that. And that for me was big. Can you translate that, Suzanne, into people that are like, okay, well, this is just business. It's not that big. I'm still scared. Is there any way we can kind of use that to help folks that are still a little scared and a little stuck?
Well, that's a good question. It appears to be two scenarios, but it's always a foundational thing of worth and can I do it and belief in yourself, no matter what the situation is. So obviously, Mike, something changed for you to accept marriage. So did your beautiful wife offer you ideas on how to change your thoughts?
Honestly, I think the pain of not being committed and exclusive and having my wife in my life forever got to be so high. I'm like, I don't care. Even if it does cost a divorce, I can't. I won't. Like, I can't live without this woman. And that was, I rolled the dice, right? And I say rolled the dice. She's amazing. And it's been 11 years, God willing, it'll be till one of us dies. But yeah, and I think that's the same thing, Suzanne. Like, when,
you didn't roll the dice, Mike.
yeah,
you didn't roll the dice. You actually decided that the pleasure that you were going to gain outweighed the fear.
And the cool thing is, before we were married, but after I decided, felt amazing. So obviously when we got married, like, well, things changed. Agreed. But before we got married, there was a moment when I'm like, I can't live like this anymore. I've got to marry this woman. I felt so much better just deciding. I mean, we were engaged, so I guess technically, but what changed in the world? Nothing. I mean, she'd agreed to say it. She would have agreed anytime. It's not like, I didn't know. So nothing really changed, but just my commitment of, I don't care. I got to go. I'm all freaking in. Frankly, I was miserable for 4 years, kind of like, just like you said, I was living in fear. I was living this, I was living that. And just the change in my mind of, I'm in, I'm committed. All the fear went away. It was crazy.
That's often the catalyst for change, is that you're at such a point that you're like, I've had it. I'm done. It can't get any worse. And that's when that will help you say, well, what if up? What if I did, in your case, if I did marry her, or I did make the decision, it can't possibly be any worse than I'm feeling right now.
Or even, I'm so happy with the pleasure. So my anticipation is so good, I'll freaking risk it, right? And again, but the real risk would be living this, I'm guaranteed to be miserable now. So I could take a shot at being happy and risk being miserable later. Well, it's a great deal. So again, I know how that worked for me, and hopefully you guys can kind of see the picture, but we'll end with, if you could give Suzanne how do we do that on purpose, right? So it's a great story. Like, okay, again, I think people get in their head, like, I understand how that could make sense. How do we move it to the best we can in the time that we've got one to many to their heart?
Well, again, step number one is being aware that we have the thought. So aware that we have a thought that's not serving us, not making us happy, that we don't like. The awareness is the key. If we don't have the awareness, it invisibly runs our life. So I would say to any listeners, choose something that's going on in your life that you feel is negative, not where you want it to be, and just focus on that one thing and say, how can I make this better? How can I tweak my thoughts to gently go up to making this different, making this better?
And not all over better, from I'm afraid I'm going to be cleaning forever and I'll never get out of it, to I'm going to be out of cleaning by Friday. But to what's the one step I could do to get out of cleaning a little less, or to move a little forward? So incremental progress, and one of my favorite quotes from Anthony Robbins is, people overestimate what they can get done in a year and underestimate what they get done in a decade. I feel with owners of cleaning companies, we overestimate what we can get done in a month and underestimate what we can get done in 6 months or a year, right? So give yourself time to go. It doesn't have to be all fixed by tomorrow. A step in the right direction tomorrow, and a step after that, and a step after that. I can look up in a month or two, and things can really be different. But if we expect everything to be done tomorrow, we give up, and then a month or two, it's the same.
Well, it's like the list we were talking about last podcast. Make the list, make it little steps, and slowly decide to change incrementally, taking the little steps to get where you want to go. And again, we're creating, I can't just stress this enough. Ask everybody to think about it in your life. You're creating a story. We're always creating a future story. So you can create the story of fear and loss, and something's going to be bad, and your mind will say, see, I told you so, because what happens, it plays out and it becomes what you feared. Or you can work on creating the story that serves you, that's more about abundance, that's more about success. Create that story. You'll start to walk into that story. Is it easy? No, because it's a focus. You'll start to walk into the story, and more you'll say, see, I was thinking I could do it. I did it.
And guys, gals that are like, come on, enough of this, squishy talk. Let's get something concrete. Let me give you concrete. Entrepreneur men, women that want to be entrepreneurs or are entrepreneurs, our only job is we see things in our mind. A company, a team, architects see buildings, artists see art, entrepreneurs see happy customers, teammates, and we see it so freaking clearly. No one else does. We're the one with the vision. That's why we do all the risk and we get paid. And our whole job is to create that reality in the world. So if your vision is constantly going to be people quitting, people screwing you, bad, I don't even watch like violent movies, and I'm 47, right? Like I'm well old enough. I don't like seeing bad people do bad things to bad people. I want to talk to people like Suzanne, who constantly are speaking life into other people. So entrepreneur, here's the concrete piece. Your job at the end of the day is to see your vision of what this company can look and feel like and create it. If you are constantly going to look at fear, loathing, terribleness, humans screwing each other, just like Suzanne said, I don't think that your entrepreneur is not for you, which is okay. I'm not trying to say you're a bad person. It might be better to get a job. Find someone else's vision that can blow wind and help you get that skill, and then maybe give you an entrepreneur. But that really is an entrepreneurial job, is to have a vision and bend the world and reality to your vision. If you're going to bend your vision to the world and reality, that's fine. You just got to get a job. You can't be an entrepreneur. Okay. Guys, gals, we were way over time. If you were like, I need more. I know every time I talk to Suzanne, I'm like, I should have booked way more time with her. She's amazing. See how I snuck in a little counseling session for myself, by the way, on my whole marriage and everything. I said, guys, gals, growingcleaningcompany.com has got everything that you need to grow your cleaning company, to grow yourself as an entrepreneur. We've got Facebook groups and coaches and tons of experience. All we do all day, every day is help transform lives of owners of cleaning companies. growingcleaningcompany.com. Tons of free stuff. We'll see you there. Thanks for tuning in to today's show. If you're fired up, ready to grow, and want to see if you have what it takes to work with us at Grow My Cleaning Company, here's what I want you to do right now. Go to growmycleaningcompany.com/talk. That's growmycleaningcompany.com/talk to book an appointment to speak with me personally. I'm going to jump on the phone with you to get you crystal clear on where you are now, where you want to be, and how to get you there. Don't walk around in the dark any longer. If you are serious about growing your cleaning company, it's time to finally get the systems in place that you need to grow. We've helped hundreds of owners of cleaning companies not only grow their business and their personal freedom, but give back to their community as well. If that's what you're looking for, head over to growmycleaningcompany.com/talk and book a time to talk with me personally. I can't wait to get to know you and your business.